Hey traders, this is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for the 31st, end of month, So we'll have a couple things to talk about here because it is end of month. But let me go through the price action for today. I'm looking at Amazon right now, rallying here a little bit. The options were implying a 5.5% move, so it looks like it's going to be one of those cases again for selling premium would have won out here. So it seems to be like how some of the bigger names that are reporting have gone. Maybe not Facebook. Facebook, home run to the upside. But some of the other big names that have been reporting, it seems like they've been really good to kind of sell premium. And it looks like Amazon is kind of right in that wheelhouse. What did I do for Amazon? I sold a put spread. I was thinking about also selling a call spread, but I just decided I'm rooting for Amazon to go higher. But I just thought to sell some premium. So what did I do? I sold a 16.25, 16.20 put spread. So as long as we're above there for tomorrow's close, fine. A couple other reports. I did play one other one, ROP. They report tomorrow, tomorrow morning. Again, good consistency. It's generally what I like to look for when I'm playing earnings. I think you can kind of skew. Earnings is very unpredictable, but I think you can add a little bit edge to it for names that have consistently beat earnings. Deckers is one of those names. I did not. We looked at Deckers at the end of the day. I just didn't really want to add any more risk personally. But if you look at Deckers and the earnings history, just like Shop, right? Shop is that was one of the reasons why I went into Shop yesterday. Went long into sorry, not Shop. ServiceNow, excuse me, now was because the earnings history, right? So you could give yourself a little bit of an edge with names that are very consistent. Deckers just had this one miss back here, but besides that, you could see it's had a really good history of reporting earnings, and they're going to do the same. If you look at ServiceNow, it's the same pattern, right? I mean, probably one time they're going to miss for earnings, but wouldn't you want to play with something that is just that consistent for earnings rather than something like, if you look at Amazon, for example, it just doesn't jump off the page in terms of, last quarter they did this. The previous 2 quarters were kind of not much. Same thing for Microsoft, I think. Microsoft, just when you look at the earnings reactions, they had a couple nice ones in here, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's all that consistent. I think I did mention that in the weekend newsletter. I was looking for a long play, but I actually did not do anything for this one. I would say besides obviously what just happened today, tendency more quarters that went up than down there. All right, a couple other names that are moving. Symantec also had good numbers. We did see a call buyer kind of midday come in there. So let me talk a little bit about today's price action. I think speaking of ServiceNow, this set the tone. The stock was up 13%, but you saw a crazy amount of call buying go up in the software space. So let me talk a little bit about this, right? And I will try to give you my experience of option activity, right? You see I've got Trade Alert on the left side of the screen. I do use option activity a lot. I use it to comb for ideas. I say this a lot. If you watch my videos, you're going to hear me say it a lot of times. However, there are some good orders and there's some bad orders, right? There's most of these guys who are buying this type of buying options are hedge funds, right? They're institutions. I'm looking for the bigger, chunkier flow. And so here's a good example, right? Someone came in and they bought coop calls today. Swept, right? Aggressive trade. They bought September 100s. Now this may work. They may also have been rolling Februaries, but you could see a couple times they came in and they bought coop calls. Do I want to buy coop calls today? They came in about a half hour after the open. This is a name that we got long on the break here. This is where I want to get long, right? And that's where, this was a trade that we took a couple weeks ago. Now, I did not own it into this, granted. I will tell you the good and the bad and of every, I'm as transparent as can be. But that was the signal right here, was to go long on the break of value. This was at 67. Now a call buyer comes in here when the stock is at 85 and you want to own it up here, forget about it. Now it may work, but you have to kind of use your own judgment in this stuff. So I don't care how aggressive they come in. Opening doesn't make a damn difference to me. Do I want to buy Coop after it's moved this much? No, there's better names I think to go after. But they were buying a whole bunch. I mean, so here's the thing, right? We've been all over this move. My goal, if you're in the trading room, you know this, but my goal is to kind of get into these names before every person knows about it and is tweeting about it, which I think a lot of people are now onto the software move. We've been all over this for the last couple weeks since the beginning of the year. We've been watching single name setups in various different names, and we've capitalized on it big time. And even this week, right? I went into QLYS this week. That's a nice technical setup. One name that we did see call activity, which I think is a decent setup, is Ring today. But there was just about every name. DBX they went after right off the right off the open in Dropbox, going all the way out to January 2020. So a lot of DBX order flow. I did not take this trade because I know this group pretty well. I'm just not going to follow. So this is pretty far out of the money stuff. These were the 60 calls. Is that right? No, that can't be right. 60 strike calls in DBX Dropbox. I guess that's what it was. So yeah, really far out of the money in Dropbox. There's some closer to the money stuff. There are some 29 calls, but yeah, that's what it says there. So you kind of have to figure out if that order flow is something that you want to do. The team I thought was pretty good. We saw team go up yesterday. I jumped into team on the opening, but I didn't put on a full size position. But I think this is a quality name. They've already reported earnings, so you don't have to worry about that. They had really good stellar, as I put in my tweet that I sent out yesterday, that they've had stellar earnings, and they just haven't popped over this. So still not a 52-week high. They did this on earnings and got squashed. But I thought this was pretty good. So repeat activity. They are going out pretty far in this one. For I know a lot of people who trade options. They're going out. They added to September calls today, which is what we saw yesterday. Also a little bit of March calls. So that's fine. This one I think I'm okay being in this one. But every one you kind of have to analyze and say, like the Coop, do I want to get long Coop here? No. After that move. What else do we see? So those are the major names. The home builders. I had a really nice day trade today in DHI. As soon as I saw that the new home sales were better than expected, I jumped on DHI and bought calls for 33 cents. I think I had a target up to 70 cents. The name that they went after today in option flow was KBH. And I think some out of the money calls in this one. This is what I'm going to kind of sit back and take a look at. I think that the charts do not look bad here. And we're seeing, TLT rallied, was up 85 basis points today. So that means if bonds are rallying, that means rates are going down. Rates more tied to mortgages. So interest rates moving down is a good thing for a beaten up group. And I'll say this, ITB does not look bad. If you want more exposure to retail names like Home Depot, XHB is a better name, so it's much higher weighting of home builders in ITB. I think 60% versus like a 35%. I'm going off the top of my head here in XHB. So, but I think this chart looks pretty good. You're going to have to contend with 200-day moving average resistance, but you kind of looks like an inverted Head and Shoulders to me. So not a bad. So again, try to get outside of software. Again, I've been talking about the software for a month, but I think now now is the time to be taking profits, and that's what I did. Also, ZS saw a call buyer. What did I do? I got into ZS yesterday. We got into ZS yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? So it may have been 2 days ago. But again, right? I mean, and I've talked about this before. You could figure this stuff out before the late call buyer comes in. What else did we see today? this was setting up pretty nice. I thought, it was just kind of taking its time. And I got into this, when I got into this, it actually went down off my initial entry, but that's fine. I got paid for it today. I think here, so maybe it was yesterday it was either yesterday or back here, kind of did the same fake move, but really nice. A couple. What else did I sell at the around the opening? I had some Baidu left over from yesterday. The only thing I had that did not work. Oh, I mentioned QLYS. I took a target in that one. IQ. I took a target in that one today. So nice move here. They're going to be reporting earnings, I believe, next week. So some of these names I'm going to want to be out of before they report earnings. JD, I've been a little bit stubborn on. I see this VPOC up here. So even though it was up nicely today, I did not take a target in this one. I'm kind of being stingy. I'm looking for 27, which I know is far up there. I got out of Square today. I just said that today was good enough, and I'll kind of watch this thing. I've been trading Square a lot in and out of, and I'm fully out of my position for now. Which is, this is just a case of me unwinding a little bit of risk because really the 200-day moving average should be the stop, but I'm happy from where I added it. I didn't catch the absolute high today, but another name that I took off today, again, just taking some money off the table, was Cyber. I got my breakout 52-week highs. Put this trade on in the beginning of the week, right around, I think 80.88 was my entry price, up to 87. So, these were nice moves this week. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, I wanted to talk about strategy going into the new month, right? So I think that's enough to kind of for today's price action. What other option activity? There was a lot. I was really busy with managing positions today. A little bit more Home Depot, which we saw that the other day. Some CGC, which I think is going up versus shares. A couple big blocks of CGC. I think the CEO is on Kramer tonight, though. Symantec, we mentioned that one. Salesforce, I think that they're rolling. Here's the order in ZS. Nice size order. What else? There's a little bit of Caterpillar. Interesting. Always on this trade stuff, the go-to name is Caterpillar. And also the Chinese internets. As soon as you hear about trade stuff going the right way, Caterpillar. So a little bit of an order today. Small stuff. This one, I think. And maybe some unwinding of some February calls. So strategy, right? Big month for me this month. I think my P&L for the month is I'm up like 25% or so. I'll have to see how that ties out. So what I like to do is the Bill Belichick approach to trading, to having a profitable year. What I look at is kind of taking a month at a time, and just like Bill Belichick. So what does Bill Belichick say in his press conference interviews after post game? Usually not much, right? He usually doesn't say much, or leading up to a game. They will always ask him, are you going to make it to the Super Bowl? What do you think for the season? And what he normally says, what I get out of listening to Bill Belichick, keep in mind I am a Giants fan, so he was a coach for the Giants first. What he usually says is we're going to take this week, one game at a time, and we're going to try to win this week. And I, like to use sports analogies a lot in trading. And I kind of incorporate that into the same thing, right? You're going to have, so of course everybody wants to have a great year in trading, but it's a long year. There's a lot of bumps in the road. There's a lot of turns. So for me, I try to win 1 month at a time. So great month for January. I talked a little bit. I sent an email out to members talking about, if you're trading very well and you're getting a little bit overconfident. Overconfidence is not a great thing in trading. You start to take unnecessary risks. So take a break. Go outside. Walk around. Maybe take a day off. Take tomorrow off if you've had a great month, and just come back refreshed. You don't have to be in front of the screens all day, every day. That's what I do for members. And sometimes that distracts me from my game plan. Also, write down in the beginning of the day, do you want to be taking risk or do you want to be taking off risk? A lot of the times I want to be taking off risk, and sometimes I see a really nice trade and I end up adding it. Oh, what was the one trade I added today? Boston Scientific. So again, I'm starting to look for some different sectors. I think healthcare looks pretty good, but yeah, I mean, sometimes some managers, what they do is they strip down their positions at the end of the month, and then they kind of start completely fresh for the month, and basically say that my P&L is zero for the month. So that's another way to kind of trick your mind a little bit to thinking about that. Boston Scientific. So yeah, the healthcare group under the radar, but had a really nice move today. So I'm going to be looking for some names in this group, even though it kind of popped nicely today. So that's it for today's video. Look forward to tomorrow's trading and hopefully seeing you in the trading room. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.